Hi, I'm Ron DeHaas from Covenant Eyes. I'm the president and founder of Covenant Eyes. And this is the second of a series. We're hoping to do a long-standing series of these Facebook Lives to talk about the subject of pornography. My objective is really to bring you some great information that will be timely, and also to interview some people, some key people who work in this area to work against pornography. Today, I just want to talk about a personal experience that I had. I'm sitting in a coffee shop in Lansing, Michigan. And I'm just sitting there minding my own business. I was doing some work. I had a notepad in my computer, and I was working in this notepad, just doing some work for Covenant Eyes. And I heard this couple getting coffee. And sure enough, they came, and as they were talking, I picked up their names, Brad and Emily. It's a true story, and those are really their names. I don't know their last names. But Brad and Emily started walking toward the table next to me and sat at the table right next to me. So Emily is like right here, and Brad is a few feet away from me, sitting around the table. As they approached the table, this is the conversation. Now, I had the pad of paper with me, so I was able to actually write down the words, word for word, what they said. And so this is actually a very accurate account, in which case I'm going to mostly read it, because I want to make sure that I get their words exactly. But Brad, walking up to the table, speaking quite loudly so that everybody in the place can hear it, said, "I love pornography. I know I'm addicted to it. I look at it all the time. I just love it." It was Emily's response that really caught me off guard, though. That certainly was a bit disturbing, but this was Emily's response. "It's good. I understand. And that's really okay." As you'll see, it really wasn't really okay, because as I found out through the conversation, Brad and Emily have been a couple for a long time. They've been together for quite some time. And you'll find out that it really wasn't okay. Brad said, sitting there, "My kindergarten teacher asked me what I want to be when I grow up, and I told her I want to be a porn star, and she couldn't believe it." Emily's response, "Wow, that's really cool. That's really funny." Brad said, "You know, my favorite pornography is midget porn. I'll watch it and then masturbate 2 or 3 times." Emily, showing no signs of emotion whatsoever, said, "That's great that you can talk about it." Brad then said, he was kind of accelerating his conversation here, he said, "I want to be president someday. And the first thing I'm going to do is make it so kids are trained in pornography." Emily's response, "That's brilliant." She had a smile on her face. "That's brilliant. I wish all guys were as honest as you are about that." At that point, Brad discovered me sitting close to him. And he turned to me, and this is what he said. He said, "Oh my God, is our conversation bothering you?" So, as the president of Covenant Eyes, I see an opportunity. I picked up my chair, turned it toward him, and see an open door, walked through it, and this is what I said. I said, "Well, Brad, I'm intrigued by your conversation because actually I'm in the business." And I just hesitated as the look of realization came on his face what I was saying. And he said, "Really? You're in the porn business?" So I explained to him what it is I do in the porn business, that actually we're fighting against pornography. And I explained to him that many of our internet and accountability and filtering service provides a service that many of our members who struggle with pornography are trying to get out of it, and they're able to get out of it using this program. Well, he was actually gracious about that. He said, "Oh yeah, I understand that, and it is an addiction. And I'm addicted, but I love it. This is my life. Some people think it's wrong, but I really enjoy it. It's not hurting anybody." So I turned to Emily, and I said, "Emily, how do you feel about his pornography addiction?" Emily instantly and seriously said, "I hate it, I hate it." And she started crying. Brad was obviously caught off guard by this response. I said, "Emily, what is it about it that you hate?" And Emily said, "I can't compete against these women. He won't have sex with me. I try to have sex with him, but he won't even have sex with me." So I turned back to Brad and I said, "Brad, do you see that there's a core issue here? And that the core issue is whether it's right or wrong. Do you see that in her mind it's wrong?" And Brad said, "Well, I try to get her to watch porn with me, and she won't. All she has to do is join with me because it's a lot of fun." So I turned back to Emily, and this is when I put my Dr. Phil hat on. This is what I would say to my own daughter if I found her in this situation. I said, "Emily," and I said it very strongly, I said, "Emily, you do not belong in this relationship. You need to get out of this relationship right now." And then I turned back to Brad. "Do you understand that in her mind this is wrong and she can't compete against those women? You are never going to find a real woman who can live up to the expectations that you have as a result of those false images." And Emily repeated, "He won't even have sex with me." I said, "Emily, why are you in this relationship?" And Emily said, "It's been 3 years. I've left several times." And Brad interrupted and said, "And she always comes back." As I said, from the moment I asked her the first question, how she felt about his pornography, Emily started crying. And her crying was getting more profuse and more profuse. And it really didn't stop until you'll find out at the end what happened. Brad walked out the door. Brad said, "I've been clean. I haven't cheated on her once." I said, "Brad, do you know what Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount? That if you look on a woman to lust for her, you are committing adultery in your heart." Emily, at this point, was nodding in agreement, just sobbing. I said, "Brad, it's a heart issue. It's not whether you physically do it. This is a heart issue." And Emily was nodding very vigorously at this point. Brad said, "Do you mean," and he said it was saying it to both me and Emily at the same time, there were a couple of girls about 6 tables away who were obviously intrigued with this conversation because he was speaking loudly enough, and so was I, that they could hear everything. And so Brad said, and he pointed to those 2 girls. He said, "Do you mean that if I look at those 2 girls over there with lust, that you would think I'm cheating on you?" Emily said, "Of course." Brad said, "Well, I can't handle this anymore. I am out of this relationship. I have to go masturbate." Emily, and Brad was gathering up his things at this point. Brad was standing up, gathering up his books, getting ready to walk. And Emily said to him, "You're leaving me?" And Brad said, "Yes." Emily said, "You're leaving me because I pushed back about your pornography?" And Brad was halfway out the door at this point, and standing at the door, he turned back to Emily and he said, "The girls of porn don't push back." Emily continued sobbing for a few minutes. She gathered her things, and she really didn't want to talk to me anymore, so she just left the coffee shop. I don't know what happened to Brad and Emily, but this is clearly a case where Brad was addicted to porn, pretty clearly. So I invite you to join this Facebook Live in the weeks to come. We're aiming for Wednesdays, sometime between noon and 2 every Wednesday. You'll have to watch for when we are going to be airing it. But in the weeks to come, I'm going to be interviewing some very key people on this very important issue. So thanks a lot.